The ultimatum. The massive Zenari vessel materialized above Earth's atmosphere, its 15-kilometer hull eclipsing the sun over much of the North American continent. Smaller escort ships flanked it, their silver hulls reflecting sunlight as they positioned themselves in a standard invasion formation. On screens across the planet, humans watched in stunned silence as the alien ship dwarfed the International Space Station, making humanity's greatest achievement in space look like a child's toy by comparison. Admiral Vale of the Zenari Empire stood on the command deck of the inevitable Conquest, his forearms clasped behind his back as he surveyed the blue planet below. A thin smile crossed his gray-scaled face, revealing rows of sharp teeth that had evolved from millennia of his species' predatory past. Primitive, he remarked to his second-in-command, Commander Rax, exactly as our scouts reported. Nuclear power, combustion engines, and the barest understanding of interplanetary travel, a Type 0.8 civilization at most. They've united their planet under a single government at least, Rax noted, reviewing data on his console. The United Earth Confederation formed 20 years ago. That will make the transition easier, Vale nodded. One government to subjugate rather than hundreds. Prepare the transmission. Minutes later, on every electronic device across Earth, Admiral Vale's face appeared. His alien features, the vertical pupils, the ridge of spines where hair would be on a human, the metallic gray scales, caused panic in streets worldwide. People of Earth, he began, his voice mechanically translated into all human languages simultaneously. I am Admiral Vale of the Zenari Empire, rulers of 8,000 worlds across 12 star clusters. Your planet has been selected for integration into our glorious empire. He paused, letting his words sink in. Your resources, primarily your water and rare minerals, are required for the continued expansion of our civilization. You will surrender your governments to Zenari control within one planetary rotation. 24 of your hours. Resistance is not advised. Our scanners have analyzed your military capabilities, and I assure you, they are insufficient. The transmission cut to show the inevitable Conquest firing a single energy beam at an uninhabited area of the Pacific Ocean. The water instantly vaporized, creating a crater 5 kilometers wide and 2 kilometers deep. This demonstration used 1/10 of a single weapon's capacity. Vale continued as his face reappeared. We have over 300 such weapons. Your deadline begins now. As the transmission ended, chaos erupted worldwide. Riots broke out in major cities, religious leaders called for prayer, and military forces were mobilized despite the obvious futility. Presidents and prime ministers huddled with advisors, trying to formulate a response that might save humanity from subjugation or extinction. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility unknown to the public and unlisted on any government document, the Earth Defense Coalition gathered. 12 men and women sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays showing the Zenari fleet. They're exactly as we expected, said Director Elena Chen, a slight woman in her 60s whose unassuming appearance belied the fact that she commanded humanity's greatest secret. The Zenari follow the same pattern with every world they conquer. First contact, demonstration of power, demand for surrender. General Marcus Jackson, commander of the EDC's military division, nodded grimly. They always give exactly 24 hours, just enough time for panic to spread, but not enough for organized resistance to form. Their intelligence is impressive but fundamentally flawed, remarked Dr. Imran Nazari, head of research. They've accurately assessed our public technology level, but their arrogance prevents them from considering what might be hidden. Director Chen stood and placed her palm on a scanner in the center of the table. Authorization. Phoenix contingency. The table split open, revealing a glowing blue crystal suspended in a gravitational field. The sight made even these hardened officials catch their breath, despite having seen it before. 70 years ago, Chen began, a small spacecraft crashed in the Gobi Desert. Its pilot, the last survivor of a civilization destroyed by the Zenari, carried with her this crystal containing her people's entire scientific knowledge, specifically their understanding of dimensional physics. On the screens around them, images appeared showing the recovery of the craft in 1953, the alien pilot's final moments as she transferred the crystal to human hands, and the subsequent decades of reverse engineering that had taken place in absolute secrecy. For 3 generations, we've been preparing for this day, Chen continued. The public believes we're decades away from fusion power. In reality, we've had it for 50 years. They think our space presence consists of a few satellites and the ISS. They don't know about our bases on Mars, Europa, and throughout the asteroid belt. General Jackson activated another display showing hundreds of ships hidden throughout the solar system. Ships unlike anything in the public imagination. Sleek vessels with no visible engines or weapons, their hulls made of a material that bent light around them. The Artemis fleet, he said with undisguised pride. 327 vessels equipped with dimensional shift drives, quantum weaponry, and shields that operate on principles the Zenari can't detect, much less penetrate. Will it be enough? Asked the representative from the African Union, her voice tense with the weight of humanity's future. Dr. Nazari smiled for the first time. The Zenari believe they're facing a pre-spacefaring civilization with nuclear weapons as their most advanced technology. What they're actually facing is a civilization that's mastered dimensional manipulation, quantum entanglement weapons, and gravity control. Their sensors can't detect our true capabilities because they don't know what to look for. They've conquered 86 worlds before us, Chen added, all of which were exactly what they appeared to be. We are not. The coalition members exchanged glances, decades of preparation coming down to this moment. It's time to vote, Chen said simply. Do we reveal ourselves and fight, knowing that win or lose, humanity will never be the same? Or do we surrender and bide our time? One by one, they voted. The decision was unanimous. Very well, Chen nodded, looking at General Jackson. Prepare our response. An hour later, as Admiral Vale was reviewing preliminary plans for Earth's resource extraction, his communications officer interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface. They wish to respond to our ultimatum. Vale settled into his command chair, adjusting his ornate uniform. It was important to look imposing when accepting a surrender. Put them through, he ordered, expecting to see terrified government officials begging for mercy or offering compromises. Instead, a single human appeared on screen. A woman in her 40s wearing a simple gray uniform with no markings or decorations. Her expression was calm, almost amused. Admiral Vale, she said without introduction. I am General Diana Harper of the Earth Defense Forces. We have considered your generous offer and prepared our response. Vale's mandibles clicked in irritation at her tone. This was not how conquered species typically behaved. We decline your offer of integration into the Zenari Empire, General Harper continued. Instead, we present a counter-proposal. Remove your forces from Earth orbit immediately and never return. You have 6 hours to comply. For a moment, the bridge of the inevitable conquest was utterly silent. Then laughter erupted from the Zenari officers. Vale himself couldn't contain his amusement. Perhaps you misunderstood our demonstration, General, he said once the laughter subsided. My ship alone could reduce your civilization to ash. The fleet behind me could sterilize your planet's surface in hours. General Harper's expression didn't change. We understood perfectly, Admiral. Your demonstration was quite effective. Then with what weapons do you intend to enforce this counter-proposal? Vale asked, spreading his arms wide to indicate the vastness of space and his fleet's dominance of it. Harper checked her watch in a deliberately casual gesture. That's the interesting part, Admiral. You won't see them coming. She looked directly into the camera. 6 hours. The countdown has begun. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving Vale staring at a blank screen. For the first time, A flicker of unease passed through him. "Scan their planet again," he ordered. "Full spectrum analysis. Look for anything unusual." His science officer complied immediately. "Scans show exactly what we detected before, Admiral. Primitive satellite network, nuclear power stations, rudimentary space stations. No energy signatures suggesting advanced weapons or defenses. What about their military installations? We detect approximately 50 major bases worldwide, all equipped with chemical explosives, nuclear weapons, and primitive aircraft. Nothing that could threaten even our smallest scout ship." Commander Rax approached the command chair. "They're bluffing, Admiral. It's a psychological tactic to buy time." Vale nodded slowly, but something about the human general's confidence bothered him. In his 3 centuries of military service, he had overseen the conquest of 17 worlds personally. He knew what fear looked like in dozens of species. The human had shown none. "As a precaution," he said finally, "move our support vessels back to lunar orbit. Keep only the inevitable conquest and 2 escort ships in direct Earth orbit. You believe they might actually have something capable of attacking us?" Rax asked, surprised. "No," Vale replied, not entirely truthfully. "But there's no need to cluster our forces unnecessarily." As the hours passed, tension on the bridge gradually decreased. The crew returned to their duties, occasionally making jokes about the humans' empty threat. Earth's military forces remained in their bases, their aircraft flew routine patrols, and their primitive satellites continued their predictable orbits. 4 hours into the countdown, Vale allowed himself to relax. Nothing had changed. Earth's military capabilities remained exactly as their intelligence had indicated. "Prepare the first wave of landing craft," he ordered. "We'll begin the invasion the moment their ridiculous deadline expires." "Yes, Admiral," Commander Rax acknowledged, then hesitated. "Should we attempt to capture this General Harper? Her behavior suggests unusual psychology for the species." Vale considered this. "Yes, add her to the priority capture list. I'm curious what made her think she could threaten the Zenari Empire." As final preparations for the invasion continued, Admiral Vale watched Earth rotate slowly below, bringing darkness to the continent where General Harper had transmitted from. Soon Imperial landing craft would descend through those same night skies, and by morning, the humans would understand the futility of resistance. What Vale couldn't know, what his advanced sensors couldn't detect, was that throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden forces were moving into position, preparing to teach the Zenari Empire a lesson it would never forget. Humanity unleashed. 5 hours and 59 minutes after General Harper's warning, Admiral Vale sat comfortably in his command chair. He sipped a warm beverage from his homeworld and watched the countdown clock on his display tick away the final seconds. 1 minute remaining in the humans' ultimatum. "Admiral," reported Commander Rax with an amused tone. Vale nodded, setting down his drink. "Are the landing craft ready?" "Yes, Admiral. The first wave can launch immediately after the deadline passes." The bridge crew worked calmly at their stations. Some were even placing informal bets on how quickly the humans would surrender once the invasion began. 30 seconds, called out the time officer. Vale straightened in his chair, wanting to appear proper for the historical records. The conquest of Earth would be another glorious chapter in the Empire's expansion. 15 seconds. "Prepare to launch landing craft on my command," Vale ordered. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. "Deadline expired, Admiral." Vale opened his mouth to give the launch order when his science officer suddenly shouted, "Admiral, energy fluctuations detected throughout the system." "Source?" Vale demanded immediately. "Unknown. They're everywhere. Near Jupiter, Mars, Earth's moon." Before anyone could respond, the main view screen showed something impossible. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear. Where there had been empty vacuum seconds before, ships now appeared, hundreds of them, materializing simultaneously at strategic points throughout the solar system. "What in the Emperor's name?" whispered Commander Rax. The ships were unlike anything in Zenari records. Barely a kilometer in length, they were sleek with no visible propulsion systems, weapon ports, or communication arrays. They simply existed where nothing had been moments before. Battle stations. Vale roared, his training taking over despite his shock. Raise shields. Power all weapons. The crew rushed to comply, but they were already too late. The human ships moved with impossible speed, not so much flying as sliding through space itself. They seemed to flicker in and out of reality, becoming partially transparent then solid again in rapid succession. Target the nearest vessels, ordered Vale. All batteries, fire. The massive cannons of the inevitable conquest discharge, sending deadly energy beams toward 3 of the approaching human ships. The beams passed harmlessly through them, as if shooting at holograms. Direct hits but no effect, Admiral, reported the weapons officer, voice cracking with disbelief. Before Vale could issue new orders, the first Zenari support ship exploded, not from the outside in as with conventional weapons, but from its core outward, as if its very atoms had decided to tear themselves apart. "The Relentless is gone," shouted Commander Rax. "No debris field. It's just gone." "Admiral," the communications officer called out, panic evident in his voice. "We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." On the screen, General Harper appeared again, now wearing a sleek combat suit. Behind her was clearly the bridge of a warship. "Admiral Vale," she said calmly, "I see you've chosen to ignore our warning. Allow me to explain what's happening. The weapons we're using create localized dimensional rifts. They don't destroy your ships. They simply move all the matter comprising them into another dimensional plane. Your crew isn't dead. They're just elsewhere." As if to demonstrate, another Zenari vessel vanished from existence. "Impossible," Vale hissed. "No civilization has mastered cross-dimensional technology." "We've had 70 years to prepare, Admiral," Harper replied. 70 years since the last survivor of the Alteri civilization crashed on our planet, bringing with her the accumulated knowledge of a people your empire destroyed. She warned us you would come eventually. We believed her." Vale's blood ran cold. The Alteri had been among the most technologically advanced species the Empire had ever encountered. Their destruction had been celebrated as one of the Emperor's greatest triumphs. "All ships, open fire," Vale commanded, desperation now evident in his voice. "Launch all fighters." The remaining Zenari fleet responded, filling space with energy beams, missiles, and fighter craft. The human vessels continued their strange flickering movement, weapons passing harmlessly through them when they shifted partially out of this dimension. General Harper shook her head. "You still don't understand, Admiral. Your weapons exist in a single dimension. Ours don't." From the human ships, pulses of blue energy erupted, not directed at the Zenari vessels' hulls, but seemingly at empty points in space near them. Where the pulses hit, reality itself seemed to fold inward, creating miniature whirlpools of distorted space-time that pulled parts of the Zenari ships into them. Vessels broke apart not from explosions, but from having sections of their structure simply cease to exist in this dimension. On the bridge of the inevitable conquest, alarms blared as systems failed throughout the flagship. "Dimensional distortions detected inside the ship, Admiral," the science officer reported, voice shaking. "Engineering decks 3 through 7 have disappeared. Weapon systems failing. Shield generators offline." Vale stared at the viewscreen in horror as his mighty fleet, the pride of the Zenari Empire, was systematically taken apart by weapons that defied the very laws of physics as he understood them. "Admiral," Commander Rax said quietly, "we must retreat while we still can." Pride warred with survival instinct in Vale's mind. In 3 centuries of military service, he had never retreated, never suffered defeat, but he had also never faced anything like this. "Prepare for emergency dimensional jump," he ordered finally. "Get us out of this system." "Sir, the dimensional drive is offline," His navigator reported, "Face ashen. We cannot jump." The human ships now surrounded the inevitable conquest, a swarm of predators circling wounded prey. General Harper's face remained on the view screen, watching Val's reaction with clinical interest. "You have one final choice, Admiral," she said. "Surrender your vessel, and your surviving crew will be transported safely to the edge of your empire's territory in functional escape pods. Or continue this futile battle and join your other ships in dimensional exile." Val's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. "The Emperor will send 1,000 ships when he learns of this. You've won a battle, not the war." Harper actually smiled at this. "I was hoping you'd say that. Computer, show the Admiral the current status of Zenari space." The view screen split, showing hundreds of locations Val recognized as Zenari worlds and outposts. At each location, ships identical to those that had defeated his fleet were appearing, emerging from dimensional rifts. "While you were focused on Earth, Admiral, our other fleets were deploying throughout Zenari space," Harper explained. "Every world you've conquered, every outpost you've established, every shipyard and fortress, all are currently surrounded by our forces. The messages being delivered are identical to the one I gave you. Remove your forces immediately or face the consequences." Vale sank back into his command chair, the full magnitude of the disaster overwhelming him. Not just a defeat, an empire-ending catastrophe. "Who are you people?" he whispered. "We are humanity," Harper replied simply. "We accepted the Alteri knowledge, but we improved upon it. Where they saw dimensional physics as a scientific curiosity, we saw it as the foundation for an entirely new understanding of reality. Your empire destroyed them because you feared their potential. You were right to be afraid, but you attacked the wrong species." She leaned forward. "Your answer, Admiral. Surrender or exile." 10 minutes later, the bridge of the inevitable conquest was empty save for Admiral Vale, Commander Rax, and a contingent of human soldiers who had appeared through dimensional portals directly aboard the ship. The remaining Zenari crew had been escorted to escape pods. General Harper entered the bridge accompanied by a tall man in a formal uniform. "Admiral Vale, this is President Okafor of the United Earth Confederation," she introduced. "He has a message for you to deliver to your Emperor." President Okafor approached the defeated admiral. Unlike Harper's clinical detachment, his eyes burned with the intensity of someone who had almost witnessed the end of his species. "Your empire has conquered 86 worlds before us," he said, his deep voice resonating through the alien bridge. "We intend to free every single one of them. Your conquest ends here. Your expansion ends now." He handed Vale a small data crystal. "This contains specifications for a basic dimensional communicator. It will allow your Emperor to contact us when he's ready to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence. Make certain he understands that any further aggression will be met with consequences far more severe than what you've witnessed today." As Vel was escorted to the last escape pod, he looked back at the humans now in command of his flagship. In 3 centuries, he had never imagined a defeat like this, not just of his fleet, but of the fundamental assumptions that had guided the Empire's expansion for millennia. "The Emperor will never accept this," he told Harper as the pod door began to close. "He will find a way to destroy you." General Harper's final words followed him as the pod sealed. Then he should run while he still can. 6 months later, representatives from 27 formerly conquered species gathered in Geneva for the first Galactic Cooperative Assembly. Earth, as the liberator, held the position of first among equals, but insisted on equal representation for all member worlds. In her opening address, now Admiral Harper looked out at the diverse gathering of beings and spoke the words that would define humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage. "The stars belong to no empire. No species has the right to subjugate another. Today we establish a new principle in this galaxy, the principle that advancement means cooperation, not conquest. Let those who would seek to dominate others remember Earth's warning to the Zenari. Run while you still can." Across the galaxy, as news of the assembly spread, Other empires and confederations took notice. Humanity had not just defeated the seemingly invincible Zenari. They had done so with technology that rendered conventional military power obsolete. More importantly, they had used that power not to establish their own empire, but to free others from oppression. For the first time in millennia, the concept of imperial expansion faced a force it could not overcome. Not just humanity's dimensional technology, but something far more powerful. The idea that freedom could be defended, that conquest could be stopped, and that the future belonged not to those who dominated, but to those who cooperated. Meanwhile, in the distant core systems of what remained of the Zenari Empire, Admiral Fail, now stripped of rank and imprisoned for his failure, watched through his cell window as the first human dimensional ships appeared in the skies above the imperial capital. The Emperor had not listened. He had not run while he still could.